So fine, welcome to the second day. In the first day I had talked about various things such as the basics of Java, installing Eclipse, the basics of object-oriented programming languages. Fine. I talked about interfaces and I took a simple Selenium example in which I actually created the object of the inbuilt classes of Selenium. Fine. And I told you how interface can be used. WebDriver is basically an interface, and how an interface can be used to initialize the stuff in Selenium, right? Like we took the browser name over here. If the browser name is Mozilla, we move forward and then we went to yahoo.com and right. So today we'll move further on and we'll see how to work with the objects and all. Okay, so I'll make a new project today for the currently I have kept everybody on mute. Okay, in case you have to ask any question, you can unmute yourself. Fine. You can click on the participants tab on the top and you can unmute yourself, ask the question, or you can contact me over Skype as well, or the WebEx chat is also there. Okay, so you can use the WebEx chat by moving the mouse on the top of the window. There will be an option for chat, right? So if you have a microphone, then you can communicate with me as well. Now let's start with day 2. In day 2 project, I will include all the jar files of Selenium. Just see it right here. These two and the ones present in the lib directory. So include all the jar files, and what we'll do is we'll take a very simple example. Fine. That is maybe you need to go to the website, any website, and fill up the credentials over there and log in into that website. Okay, maybe we can take up the simple example of Gmail, right? But to work with that, to enter username, password in the Gmail field and log in into the application, I need to first install some plugins in my Mozilla browser. Okay, if you open your Mozilla and you go to Google, you need to install Firebug in Mozilla. Okay, first thing you need to do is you need to download. You click on this, download Firebug. You go here and go click on add-ons of Firefox, and you install the Firebug add-on. You click on this, add to Firefox as add-on inside Firefox. Make sure you click on this link. You open this link in Firefox. Once you have installed it, you will get the Firebug icon out here on your browser on the top right side. Inside Tools menu of your browser, you will also get the option for Firebug. Now what Firebug is? If I click on this, open Firebug, so Firebug opens up, right? There's an arrow out here in Firebug, this one. Okay, this arrow out here, if you click on this and move your mouse on the screen, you will have the properties of the objects coming on the screen. Okay, suppose I go into the HTML tab out here, this one. If you go anywhere on the screen, you will get the HTML code of the objects out here. Okay, so Firebug helps you to investigate the page source. Okay, Firebug helps you to investigate the page source. Now, before I start with Selenium, I want to just give you 5 to 10 minutes background on what basically HTML is. Because if you have a very good and very sound knowledge of HTML, then learning Selenium is not a big deal. Okay, so just concentrate on the basics. That's the major thing. What is HTML? HTML is hypertext markup language. All the pages, they are made in the HTML language, and if that, it will be a great idea that if you can go to this tutorial over here, HTML tutorial, and just give in half an hour to 1 hour time on this tutorial on WC School, on the basic HTML, not more than that. You will have a lot of knowledge. Okay, if you have HTML knowledge, then learning Selenium will be easy, because Selenium actually works on the HTML page source. Okay, so now before moving forward, what I'll do is I'll make an Excel file out here called as html.xls. Okay. Now, what all components do you have in your HTML language? Right. So we'll have a brief view of that, how particularly they are used and what they are. Just a minute. Yeah. So I'll be making some fields over here. One field is component name. Another field is component. Okay, simply name, tag, and attributes. I am writing these 3 columns. Okay, so these will be used a lot in Selenium. Now, what kind of elements do you have in HTML language? Right? What kind of elements do you have in HTML language? You have elements like you have a link on the page. I'm talking about page. What all kind of elements can you have on a page? You can have a link, then you can have an input box, that is a text field, right? You can have a radio button, you can have a checkbox, right? Then in HTML you can have a button, a select box, a drop list, that is, right? Then sometimes we have the text as well in HTML. We have the normal text which is visible to our eyes, fine, and majorly these are the components, right, which we deal with generally. Okay, and apart from that, there are some hidden components like a web table is there, a frame is there. These are not visible to our normal eyes, but they are there on the page. Okay. Now each and every component has a tag name associated with it and various attributes. Okay. With the help of the tag name and with the help of these attributes, we identify the elements on the page in Selenium. Okay. So with the help of these tags and attributes, we identify the elements on the page. Now let's start investigating. Let's look at link first. If I open any web page, right, these are the links on the top right side over here. Okay. If I look in the Firebug, then these links out here, every link has got an anchor tag associated with it, A. This anchor tag, okay, this anchor tag is actually responsible for creating a link on the page. Okay, so if you find any element with anchor tag A, okay, the tag names always start with the conical bracket like this. Let me increase the font size. Right. So if you go to any link, then all the links will start with anchor tag A. If you go to any website, even if you go to my website, qtpselenium.com, and on my website, if I investigate this Selenium training link out here, then this will start with the anchor tag A. Okay, so the link has the tag name as A. and there are various attributes associated with this tag, right? The attribute like, there's an attribute called href. Okay, this href attribute actually tells you the link, the URL to which the link is pointing to. So this is known as the attribute. Okay, for example, td out here is a tag name, and these are the attributes of this tag. Div out here is a tag name, and this is the attribute. The class is the attribute of this tag. Similarly, this A is known as the tag name, and this is the attribute href. So href attribute out here tells you the URL to which the link points to. Fine. So hold on for some time. You will get to know why am I telling you this. Right? It's quite important because people miss out these fundamental things and then they get confused later on. Right? For a text field, for example, I am on the page, say gmail.com, the landing page of Gmail, that is the page on which you enter the username and password. If you look at the text box of username, then this is the code for that. The tag name for all the text fields in all the web-based applications start with input. Okay, the tag name for all the text fields, it starts with the tag name is actually input, not starts with, rather it is the input tag. In case of a button, right, in case of a button, for example, this is the sign in button. The button also has the tag name as input, right? And from my experience, I know that the checkbox also has the tag name as input. Radio button has also got the tag name as input. So all these four components, text field, radio button, checkbox, and a normal button on the page, right, they have the tag names as input. Then what is the thing which is segregating them? The attributes, they are different for each of them. Okay, if you look at the text field, that is the username text field, then these are the attributes. Okay, now you don't need these many attributes to make a text field. If the type is equal to text, if the attribute type is text, that means it is a text field. If there is an input tag with type equals to text, that means it's a text field. This is the bare minimum attribute which will describe it's a text field. If in case of radio button, the attribute type will be equals to radio. If you look in the page source, for example, if I go here and I look at the radio buttons, then this is the radio button, input type equals to radio. You see that this radio button is radio type equals to radio, define the radio button. Okay. Type equals to checkbox, define the checkbox, right? And in case of buttons, for example, this is the sign in button, the type attribute is equals to submit, then it is a button. So these are tag names and these are the attributes. Okay, and for a select box, the tag name is select. You don't need any attribute, only the tag name will do. The tag name for a select box is equal to select. So if you open any drop list, for example, I go on the site, say there is a news website timesofIndia.com. Okay, in India it's a news website just like BBC. Okay, so out here we have got various drop lists, right? If you look at any one of the drop lists out here, for example this one, select your city. This one, then this is the select tag. All the select boxes, they start with the select tag, and inside the select tag there are various option tags. So option tags, they contain the drop list, the values of the drop list, and in the end the select tag it closes. So all the option tags, they are embedded inside the select tag in case of a drop list. Okay, so if this is the select box, then select box is simple, a tag name select, right? A text can be present in a tag name like div or span or para tag. Okay, so these are the CSS tags basically. Okay, we'll talk about CSS, right? We'll talk about CSS later on. Right? These are the CSS tags. Okay. Apart from this, I'm missing one more component, that is images. Fine. How to work with images and Selenium. If you look at any image on a page, for example, if you go to Gmail, on the Gmail home page you have the Google image on the top. If I move my mouse over this image, then it will look like this. The image tag always starts with the name image. The tag name is img. The tag name itself tells you that it's an image, right? So out here, for image, the tag name is img. Okay, I'm not going to talk about web tables and frames right now because these are not visible to the normal eye, right? These are some inbuilt components. Fine. So let's talk about the simple components first of all. So these are the components on the page, fine, which identify these elements. Okay. Now, these are basically the mandatory attributes. These will always be there with these elements. Okay, the tag name will be there and these attributes will always be there. Now there is a certain set of attributes known as optional attributes. With the help of tag name, mandatory attribute and optional attributes, we can recognize or we can extract the stuff from the page. Okay, the optional attributes are like IDs or one of the optional attributes, name, class, okay, etc. So these are the optional attributes and these can be present with any of these elements. ID, name, class, okay. So if you look in the Gmail page, if you look at the username field, then the username field is ID, okay. The username field has also got a name, right? Generally, the ID or the name is unique. If the developer is good, he will always give unique IDs for every element, and you can use the ID of the element or the name of the element to find out or to extract the element from the page using Selenium. Okay, so we can use the combination of mandatory as well as optional attributes, right? Now, how does Selenium identifies the objects? That's the first thing. How do you use these links? Because Selenium is the tool which will always go by the page source. It works on the page source, right? It extracts the page source out of the page and then starts working on it. It looks at the tag names and everything and starts working on those tags. So how do you make Selenium understand a link, that is you need to click on a link or you need to write into an input box and all, etc. Right? So that's what we are going to look at right now. Fine. So suppose I want to go to Gmail and I want to enter my username. Okay. For that we will make a simple page class over here known as gmail.java. Okay. In that I will just write the plain old code, that is WebDriver. WebDriver is the interface. Okay, the reference of the interface equals to new Firefox driver, the class which is implementing the interface. Right? HSBC class was implementing the bank interface, so I could write a bank B equals to new HSBC. Right? WebDriver driver equals to new Firefox driver, and after that driver dot get the URL. Fine. Get the URL, that is gmail.com. Okay. Get the Gmail URL, and after reaching Gmail, you need to enter the username and password. Okay. For that, you can write over here. You have to enter the password, right? Enter username. Now there are various ways to identify an element in Selenium. Okay, so to identify the element in Selenium, there are various ways. You can identify the element on the basis of ID, on the basis of class, on the basis of name, provided the element has a name, right? You can use XPath, you can use CSS selectors. Okay, so there are various ways to identify the element in Selenium. Okay, now ID we have seen. Sometimes the developer he gives the ID of the element. For example, the ID is email. Right. So if I have to identify and extract this input box, right, from the web page, okay, then I can use the ID to extract this input box, provided there is no other element on the page with the same name. The developer is good, right? So how do you do that? For Selenium, everything on the page, listen to this carefully. For Selenium, everything on the page is a web element. Okay, this input box is a web element. This button is a web element. Okay, the links are web elements. This checkbox is a web element. Okay, for Selenium, everything is a web element. Okay, so there is an interface out here. If you go to Google, if you over here download Selenium, and go to the Java docs. Now WebDriver is the interface, we all know. Okay, WebDriver is the interface. Okay, in WebDriver interface there is a function called find element. Okay, so if you write over here in your code driver dot find element, on the basis of what? How can you find the element? You can use the by class in Selenium. There are various options in by class. All the options are static. Okay, you can identify the element by class name, CSS selector, ID, link, text, name, and a lot of things. Tag name. So you can use over here by dot. You can write by dot, and you'll get all the options on which you can extract the element from the page. So I write over here by the ID, and you specify the ID of the element. Okay, that is email is the ID of that element. So what this will do is this will find the element on the page with the ID email. Okay, and the find element function, what it does is it returns you the reference of an interface known as web element. Now in Selenium, everything is categorized as a web element. The page is a web element, input box is a web element, everything is a web element. Don't confuse this with web element of QTP if you know QTP. Okay, it's not same as the web element of QTP. If you look in this web element interface, it's an interface. There are various functions which you perform on the page. For example, you clear an input box, you click somewhere, right? You get the text out of the application, check if the element is displayed, if it is enabled, if it is selected, send keys, submit, right? These are the general functions which you perform on the web page. Fine. So you have, when you write find element, you get the object of web element interface, object reference of web element interface. I'll name it as username, like this. So this returns the username field. Okay. And how do I write in the username field? There's a function called send keys. If you read the description of this, it will say that use this method to simulate typing into an element which may set its value. Okay, so with the help of send keys function, you can set the value of an element. Okay, so now if you are sorry for that. Yeah. So now if you are using this send keys function, okay, out here, we can use it out here. We can call it like this: username dot send keys, the username which you want to enter. Okay. Similarly, you can extract the web element password equals to driver dot find element by, that means on which criteria you need to find an element. Okay, if you look in the Firebug, the XPath of password, then I need to find it on the basis of ID. The ID for this element is password. So you write it over here, and you write in the next line password dot send keys your password. Okay. Now after that you can extract the button. You can write over here web element button equals to driver dot find element by the ID, and you give the ID of the button, right? That is, you have the sign in button out here, okay, and this is the ID of the sign in button, that is sign in. Okay, and you click on that button. You can write button dot click. Okay, you'll get all the operations which you can perform on any web element out here. You'll get all the operations, right? So you find the button and you click. I will not click on it when I run this code, otherwise they think that Gmail will block my IP. They block your IP sometimes if they find the automation tools. Okay, so when you run this, it will simply go to Gmail and it will enter the email and the password. Just hold on. You see that? Right? Now, once that's entered, now on which other criteria can you find an element? Okay, there are various criteria to find an element. You can use ID, you can use the name as well. If you look at the name of this username field, then the name is also email. Okay, the name of this username field is also email. So what you can do is you can simply go here, and instead of selecting ID, you can also select the name, provided the name is unique. So this will also work. If I run this, this will also enter the username in the email field. Okay, you see that? Right? Now, the thing is, there is a very important criteria for detection, that is the XPath. Okay, Before I tell you about XPath, okay, what if I execute this script on Chrome? What will happen if I execute the script on Chrome? This will execute. Okay. Yesterday I told you, right, how to execute on Chrome. You'll have to first set the system property like this. The same script will also execute on Chrome, provided your application is not opening in a different way on the Chrome browser. Okay. Your application opens in the same way. You get the same page source in all the browsers. The script will also work fine in Chrome. Right, so if you accept this Chrome driver over here and you run this, so you see that Gmail opens in the same way in our Firefox as well as Chrome, so it works in Chrome as well, right? The IDs and all, name and all remain same because the page source is same. Now, if suppose I have to use another detection criteria known as the XPATHS to identify the elements, how do I use that? Okay, how do I use XPaths? Now, what are XPaths? Generally, you can say XPath is something which actually denotes the address of your element on a web page. Address, it's like an address of a web element on the web page. For example, I'll take a very simple example. If you go to my site, qtpselenium.com/login/ if you go to this site, this URL, then there is an email and a password field over here. Okay, if I directly look at the page source, okay, if I go here and look at the page source, then in page source you'll find that there are various tags. I told you, right, there are various tags, and page source starts with the tag name called as HTML. Okay, so the XPath will be formed like this. Suppose I need to find the something known as XPath for this email field. Okay, so if I look in the Firebug, the email field, if I look at it, then this is my email field and this is the document, the HTML document starting from here. Okay, so the first tag name is HTML. So my XPath will start with the tag name HTML, right? After this, there's a body tag. Okay, so the HTML will say, tag will say there's a body tag. Okay, there are two types of XPath, and I'll tell you later on. Fine, just concentrate on this first. There's a body tag, and under the body tag, right, there is a div tag. Okay, there is a div tag, so you will write HTML body div, and after the div tag you have a form. Okay, so you iterate through the tag names, right? There is a form tag, and inside the form tag you have the tag name named as table, right? So you have the table tag, and then the table body tag, this one. I am interested in reaching here. Okay, so this is the table body tag, T body, and inside the table body tag there are various TR tags. These are known as the table rows. Okay, so I am interested in the first TR tag because the first TR tag holds my email field. Okay, so I will write over here TR1 like this. If I am interested in the second one, I will write TR2. I am interested in the first one, so it is TR1. Okay, so do we have, or the question being asked is, do we have table tag and body tag also? No, we don't have that. This body tag actually tells you table. Okay, and sometimes you can have it if you want. It depends on the application. Okay, so in the TR tag, right, In this tr tag you have got, that is the tr1 tag, this one. Inside the tr1 tag you have got 4 td tags, and basically you are interested in the second td tag, in the third td tag. Okay. Your 4 td tags, you are interested in third one, so you'll write td3, and inside td3 you have the input tag. So this will be your XPath. Okay, so you reach the input tag, type equals to text. This is my text field. You reach this field from the root of the HTML document. So this type of XPath which you get is known as the absolute XPath. This actually donates the, this actually tells you the position of the tag, okay, the position of the input tag, right, in the page. The question being asked is, why are we not considering likewise to reach the destination? Well, that's how it is done, right? That's how it is done. The base has to start from HTML. Why the head is not there? The head is not there because if you look at this carefully, the head tag opens and then it closes as well. The HTML tag has got 2 tags under it. Okay, I am not going inside that. The one which I am interested is inside the body tag. Okay, in the body tag as well you have got many tags. This is the table tag and this is the div tag. I am interested in this div. So after body I will go in div. If you look at this carefully, then after body I have directly gone inside div. Are you getting my point? Right? So this is what I meant. But this kind of XPath is not good, because if I am using this XPath to identify the element, how will I use this? I'll copy this XPath and go here and write over here that this was the first way. Okay. You can write WebDriver username. Hold on. Comment this. You can write web element. Username equals to by the XPath, specify the XPath like this. Okay, so when you run this, you will get the element extracted from the page as well. So if you run this, oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to my website, right? It should be Gmail. I'm going to Gmail. It should be my website. So, hold on. Okay. Hold on. I'll create a new class over here. This is for my website. This is not for Gmail. I extracted the username field for my website. The URL is okay. So now when you run this, It goes here and it finds that element. Hold on, I never wrote the line send keys. Okay, you need to write the line username dot send keys hello, suppose, and when you run this, you see that hello gets written inside it. But the kind of XPath which I have used over here, this is known as the absolute XPath. Now if something changes in the application tomorrow, a new tag comes in between or something, I'll have to go and completely change the code. Now that's the drawback of this XPath. The drawback is that you have to go and completely change the code. Okay, so what we do, we don't use the complete XPaths, right? We use relative XPaths. Okay, how are relative XPaths formed? Okay, you can form a relative XPath like this. Suppose in case of my field over here, email field. Okay, this email field, if you look in this out here, or suppose we go to the normal example which we were doing earlier, Gmail. Okay, and to find the relative XPaths or the generic XPaths, okay, you need to install something known as Firefox. Okay, Firefox, when you install in your Mozilla, it makes the work of finding absolute as well as relative XPaths very easy. I'll just show you how to do that. We installed Firebug, right? Okay, so you just go to Google and after installing Firebug, you just write over here download after installing Firebug, you just write download Firefox. You go here, it gets installed as an add-on inside your Mozilla browser. Okay, so you can write over here, this is the Firefox, and you can click on add to Firefox, it will be added. Now when you open your Firebug after this, you will see that this Firefox option over here. Okay, what this Firefox option will give you, it will give you the XPaths. Okay, if you click on this drop list and select generate absolute XPath, if you select this and you move your mouse over any element, the Firefox gives you the absolute XPaths. Okay, but we do not generate the absolute XPaths. Don't keep this thing checked. Okay, we generate the relative XPaths. Now if I move my mouse over the in this input field, I'll get an XPath like this. Ignore the dot, don't copy the dot. Okay, so in case of Gmail, this is known as the relative XPath. Now what is this? / star. Star means any tag name on the page. Okay, any tag name on the page. So basically it's an input tag. Okay. Instead of star, I can also write / input like this. I can replace that star with input and @ID equals to email. That means an element on the page, any element on the page with the tag name input and ID as email. Right? So you can use any of these two XPaths. This second one is more generic. It tells you that there is an input tag with one of the attributes ID equals to email. You need that one. So you can copy this, and in Gmail you can replace the absolute XPath with this relative XPath. Okay, and when you run this in Gmail, in gmail.java, I'll go and I'll write web element username equals to driver.find element by the XPath, and you give the XPath of the email field. Okay, so when you give XPath of the email field, it will extract the username and it will type the username in the email field. Okay, so you run this. You see that the username gets written successfully out here. Okay, so similarly you can extract the XPath for password as well. You can write over here, you can directly look at this XPath and copy this, and you can write over here by the XPath of the password, and you write the password into this, and after that you can click on the sign in button. You can also get the XPath of the sign in button if you want, so you get the XPath in this. Okay, it's not necessary you'll get the XPath like this always. For example, I go to the site in.rediff.com. Okay, I need to find the XPath of the link images out here. Okay, so if you look in Firebug, the images link, then it comes like this. The XPath comes like this. That means there is something with the ID top search home. There is a div with this ID. Inside this div, there is this div, and inside this div, there is the second link, which is this one. So we are taking a relative XPath from this division because this division has an ID associated with it, which is unique. Okay, so from this division we will reach this link. So that's why we get this XPath. Okay, so from this division we reach this link, and that's why this is the division with this. Inside there is a div 1 and then a 2. Right, so we can get XPath like that as well. Alright, so now if you look at this code carefully, okay, then to deal with one element I have to write 2 lines of code out here. If I have to deal with username, first I am extracting the username web element, and then I am writing username.send keys. Okay, so instead of doing this, I can write the whole thing in one line. I can write simply driver.find element by the XPath this. Right, so what will this represent? Okay, this will represent my web element username. Okay, directly in front of it I am writing .send keys, the username which you want to write. Okay, so driver.find element by this XPath, the execution starts from the left side. First the element will be found, and after that the wording will be sent into that element. Okay, so similarly I can do it for everything. Okay, I am just commenting everything out here. Similarly you can find the password field as well. You can write driver.find element by the XPath of the password, right, .send keys password. Okay, and after that you can write for the button as well, right, driver.find element by the ID of the button .click. So this will click on the button. Okay, so only in 3 lines I am able to execute everything. Okay, 1 line per interaction with one object on the page. Okay, so if you run this, So it goes here and enters username, password, and clicks on the sign in button, right? So there are various ways. Okay, I told you. So I told you about name, I told you about ID, I told you about XPath and all, right? I'll come over to the class name and all everything. Okay, there's a lot of stuff to be done. Okay, but let's go back to the sheet now. Now, as we were moving forward, okay, we saw that the tag names are a very essential part of the XPath. You can write // how an XPath is made, // the name of the tag, and in the brackets you can give the attribute of that tag, the unique attribute. Okay, you can write @ID equals to email or something like that. Okay, so with the help of the combination of tag names and the attributes, you can take mandatory or optional attributes, whatever you want. You can make XPaths of your application, and you can identify the elements on the web page. So this is how Selenium works. That's why it's a browser automation tool. That's why it can only work on the browser-based applications. Okay, because it actually goes inside the tags and works with the tags, right? So I think from this batch, somebody was asking me, can I work with Oracle Forms on my site? Somebody was asking me, maybe from this batch, right? I think somebody asked me yesterday. So Oracle Forms, you can work, just go into the page source and try to identify the tag names for the Oracle Forms. Okay, once you identify the tag names for the Oracle Forms, you will certainly be able to work with them, I guess, right? So, because sometimes some applications have their own specific tag names as well. Okay. Now, before I move further, okay, there's something like, okay, if you look at this carefully, okay, the browser which was opened by Selenium. Look at the browser carefully, the Firefox browser, which got opened in the Selenium session. It never had the set of bookmarks which you have in your regular browser session. Okay, it never had the add-ons and all. In my regular Firefox browser, I have the Firebug add-on with me. Okay, it's not there in the browser which is opened by by Selenium. Right? So why is this? This is because Selenium starts a new Firefox profile every time. Okay? So we'll be starting with the concept of Firefox profile now. I'll tell you what a Firefox profile is, how the profiling is done, why is it important, and how it can be used with Selenium. Okay? So what we can do is, we can have a 10 minutes break, and after that we can continue. It is 9:25 now. We can meet at 9:35. We can have 10 minutes break, and after 10 minutes we'll continue the class. Okay, and I'll start with Firefox profiling.